Hi, everyone, and welcome to El Camino People, the podcast. Today, we are connected with the other side of Spain, from Andalusia. How are you doing, guys?
Hey, we're great.
Doing very well. Yeah.
So, how is the situation right now? We keep everybody asking us, how is the Camino open? I don't know if you can tell. Right now, here in Pamplona, the Camino is open only for people from Pamplona. But there's this weird tale around that they said that international people can travel in Spain. And I think I've been asking, and legally, I think people are allowed to travel more than Spaniards. So I don't know how things over there right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that, how nobody's allowed to leave the province, but yet somebody could fly in from Germany and go wherever they want. It seems a little bit unfair, I suppose, but we're not that affected by it. We're kind of happy where we are. Within our province, we have snow and beautiful beaches and everything in between. So we're happy, okay.
Yeah, you have a lot of places to go. You can go to the beach. You can go to ski. It's not so much. For us, we meet. I can go ski cross country, but I still can go to the beach. So you are, I guess, the lucky ones over there.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit. You're Casey, and your name, sorry, I forgot, was
James.
Tim. So tell us a bit. What is? Sorry.
James.
Oh, James. Sorry. I don't know why the mic is not. I'm not catching both. So James and Casey.
Like Saint James himself.
Like Saint James, exactly.
So Santiago, Tiago, Jago, Diego, all of those, no? So tell us a little bit. What are you guys doing living in Spain? Where did you move before we get into all of the Camino? How long you've been there? What is your life look like in Granada? In Granada, Andalusia right now?
Well, we, when we were younger, a few years ago, we decided to just try living in Spain, and we lived in a small village in the Sierra Nevada. And then we decided to walk the Camino shortly after that. And after that, had a child and decided that we wanted to raise him in Spain. And we looked for the perfect place. And we found this village called La Herradura, where it's a mix of a traditional Spanish village, but there's also a lot of expat families living there. So there's tons of kids, stuff for kids, alternative education options. And so we moved there and we're really happy. We just think it's the best of both worlds. We are both online therapists. So we work completely online and we're able to live there very nicely.
That's so nice. So first it was the Spanish love, then you moved to Spain, then the Camino, and then everything became one.
Yeah.
Incredible. We'll get deeper into the story, but before we go into the story, you know what is next? The 1 minute questionnaire.
Okay.
So we always do for couples, we always give you 1 minute and a half. And in your case, as we said, it's going to be fun. We're going to let you answer at the same time. So I have here around 40 questions. They're totally randomized right now from all Camino related, as I said, but sometimes they'll let us think about things that they are not Camino. So that's up to you guys. Are you ready?
Yeah, fun.
Let's go. First Camino.
The Ireland one.
Celtic Camino. Yeah.
Ultrella or Susella?
Susella.
One city.
San Sebastian.
One meal.
Sticky pork.
One song.
I don't know. We never got a Camino. We never got a Camino song.
We never got a Camino song. Oh God.
Okay, let's keep on. A happy moment.
Having our anniversary with all our Camino mates.
Yeah.
One color.
Blue.
One smell.
Smell of horses.
Long or short pants?
Long.
Canteen or Camelback?
Camelback.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Beer?
Always.
Lots.
A backpack brand?
What is our backpack? Granite Gear.
1 hour to start walking?
Oof. 9.
Spaghetti with?
They would kick us out of the albergue. What?
And finally, spaghetti with?
Pork again.
If you have you gone veggie for like a whole week and you're craving for pork or for belly pork or something?
I don't even think I really like pork, but I just kind of it was the first thing that came into my mind. I don't know.
It is funny because a lot of times, a lot of people, the same happen. Like I was asking the other guy, a guy from Germany that was the Camino, and when I asked him about the meal, he was fried beans. I'm like, fried beans, and I think that's kind of like not even German, not Camino related. But we were probably talking about his time in California, and he was fried beans came out. So I guess in your case, pork. Nice. At least you know what can you put for lunch tomorrow. So tell us, guys, the first question we always go, when did you find out about the Camino de Santiago? What was the first time in your life that you can remember that you get in touch with the Camino? And what was it? Was it a book? Was it a friend? Was it a movie?
What happened was I read the Paulo Coelho book, The Pilgrimage, when I was a teenager. So there was some kind of knowledge of it from that, but that was it. And then we were in Ireland near where James is from, and we were sitting in a pub, and we realized that in the pub there was a funeral going on around us. All the people in the pub were there for a funeral. And we started talking to some of the old men at the bar about the person who died. And the person who died was a man named Danny Sheehy, who had just rowed a boat, a traditional Irish boat, from Ireland all the way to Ferrol to do the Camino by boat. And we were sitting there at his funeral, and it was there that we kind of started talking about the Camino again. And we were at a time in our life where we were kind of looking for something to do, didn't know what to do. And I think I said to him a couple of days later, I want to walk the Camino. That's what I want to do. And then we decided to do it.
Well, it's funny because not many people know about these guys. I know the documentary that they did, and I know someone died while recording the documentary. I know that one of them is a really famous musician. I've been trying to get in touch with them for interviewing, but it's one of those movies that is unknown about the Camino. I don't know why, because I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it seems quite interesting.
Yes, we saw it. We saw it they were playing it in the theater where we were living in Ireland at the time, because obviously all the guys in it were local. Yeah, it's an amazing film.
Yeah, we'll have to put it on the list, and we will try to get him and see if we can interview some of the guys from the movie.
Yeah, actually, the cinematographer from the movie lives in our village, so we can put you in touch with him if you want. Yeah,
that would be amazing. Yeah, it's funny,
he lives in Spain.
Incredible. It's funny because I always say, that this year, even with the pandemic, a lot of people would say that's negative and everything, but every time I talk with someone, there's something new happening. There's people that you met. And it's like the Camino, no? Like every time there is something new, someone that opens the door, someone opens something else. So I guess this is it. This is the Camino. And I always say the Camino is not just walking the Camino, it's just what we are doing right now.
Yeah.
So you discover the Camino. You are the one pushing James to go, let's walk, let's do the Camino. How was that? That's the situation.
I'd done a bit of walking before. Like I'd walked to Everest Base Camp and stuff like that. So I was used to walking, but I don't know, 7 weeks walking across the country or however long we thought it was going to take. It was more to do that I sort of have like a social anxiety. So I was just didn't want to be stuck with people all the time. And in the dorms, and I kind of felt like there would be people on top of me all the time. So that was putting me off. But she was just, this is like one of the last great adventures on earth. So, I said, all right, I could do that. I could do walk. So,
like, you compare with going with the base camp at the Everest, but were you going by yourself, with friends?
To base camp, I went with two close friends.
Okay.
a long time ago. Yeah, and that's a very solitary type of you don't see
trip, and
anybody
also
for,
with friends. I'm like doing the Camino plus with your significant one, and you know, with your partner, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
That's totally different, probably journey.
Yeah, yeah. It just felt to I was much younger as well, and with the altitude of going up to Everest and all that type of stuff as well, you're really just thinking, you know, trying to put one step in front of the other. You can't breathe properly. It's much more relaxing and enjoyable to do the Camino than walk to Everest, just because of the altitude sickness. You know, it's more
really, yes.
really
as I say, it's always a different challenge, and I think that when people decide to do the Camino, there is some reason behind, because there's so many trails worldwide. I'm like, just in Spain, you have some other trails that they're more backpacking, more hiking than the Camino. The Camino is different. Yeah. You know, I've been backpacking the Pyrenees all my life, and I love it, but you cannot compare what you did in the Everest with the Camino. It's not that it's better or it's worse, it's just so different, and the goal is so different. But so then you decided the Camino. When was finally the day that you said, you know, we are going to the Camino? But first you moved to Spain. So how was the transition from Ireland to move to Spain to do the Camino?
We lived in Spain actually before we ever talked about doing the Camino.
Okay.
And didn't even really know about the Camino. You want to know the strangest thing is that we lived in a house in a village in the Sierra Nevada, and it had one of the scallop shells for the Camino on the house. The Camino went right past our house, and we didn't know what it was.
And at that time, you didn't know at all that about the Camino or anything.
No, I didn't know anything about the scallops.
And I used to go hiking around there every single day, and I would follow the yellow arrows. And I had no idea what they meant. And I did this again a couple months later in some other area of Spain. I again was hiking and following the yellow arrows, and I realized now I was on the Camino. So I was walking the Camino before I knew what it was. Yeah. So what happened is we went back to Ireland, and we decided to go again back to Spain and walk. And we decided on the Camino del Norte.
That's one of the funny things, because a lot of people, you know, when they do the first Camino, the one that comes to your mind is usually the Camino Frances. Like that's the one from the book, that's the one from the movie, that's the one that is more average. What makes you guys decided about the Norte?
For me particularly, too many people on the Frances.
Okay.
Just for my particular brain would have been too much of an overload. And it just seemed much more rugged and brutal and special and like way out there. And just to walk along by the coastline and to pick out these little villages along the way, it seemed more magical.
And the weather too. We wanted to do it in June and July. So we just thought the weather would be much nicer on the coast. And we were right. It was great.
I'm like, it can be much nicer, but it can be also much horrible. And like, depends what is, you know, always I say, what is nicer for you?
Well, nicer for us is like, well, for me, I'm coming from Ireland anyway. So all this weather is same, you know? Yeah. So perfect.
For you, wet and cold and rainy is not a problem at all.
No, and it reminded me of home a lot. You've got all those different colors of green.
It's really
all
similar.
The way along. It's practically the same.
It's one of the funny things that we have, you know, the north of Spain with Ireland and with Scotland, we have so much in common. You know, all just the bagpipes, the music, the culture, all the Celtic stuff is so embedded in the culture here. All the mystical, you know, guys that we have in the north of Spain, we are all really similar, from the megas that you have in Galicia to the sorguinas that we have here in Navarra or in the Basque Country. It's so similar. And when you compare, a lot of people, they don't know that they are really interconnected. For many, many years, there's been people going back and forth. The pirates were going from Galicia all the way to Ireland and Scotland and the other way around. So it's just funny how connected. A lot of people, when they think connections in the Camino, they think, you know, Germany, Italy, that there's a lot of Camino tradition, but there's a huge Camino tradition with Ireland and with Scotland.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Vigo, which is, you know, the biggest city near Santiago there, the name of the football team is Celta Vigo.
Yeah. And who's the best bagpiper in the world? Carlos Núñez, that has been recognized even by bagpipers in Ireland and Scotland, and right now he's making a lot. But it's incredible how connected they are. But the funny thing is, like, the bagpipes from Galicia, they're so different from the ones in Scotland and Ireland. And if you keep going to Navarra, we all have our own different kind of bagpipe that is different from the other one.
Yeah, the bagpipes. I'm not. Are you a big fan of the bagpipes?
I always say I want to be a Scottish to die. So in my funeral, they will play bagpipes, but because in my wedding, I don't know if I'm going to be able to choose. So I love them. It's one of the things that I would love to play all my life, but I've been always horrible in school with grades. So I never played music. It was too much. And it's one of the things that I would love to one day learn, but it's just there. I love the Celtic music, all of it, even, the river dance. I've been going, all that, that Celtic kind of like stuff. I love it, but cool. I guess you are not so fan of.
The bagpipes, no, it kind of wrecks my head. It gives me a headache, I'm afraid. I can't handle it.
I like it when you're walking into Santiago and you're just at the end and somebody's usually there playing the bagpipes. Yeah. That's magical.
No, when I heard him playing bagpipes, I wanted to find a different way in. I wanted to go around the long way, yeah. So
you were lucky that you didn't choose the Camino. Well, at the end, you choose the main entrance with the bagpiper. So what did you do? Did you wait till night for the lady that sings opera?
Yeah, that would have been better. That would have been much better. So, actually, a train when I went in there. The little toy, the choo-choo train. I was trying to walk. I was trying to get away from the bagpiper, so I was going too quickly, and I wasn't looking. And then the train just like hit the side of me. So that wasn't good.
That's so funny. I'm like coming from Ireland and coming from the Camino. I think everyone, what they wait for the Camino. At the end is the bagpipes, the big entrance into the Bradoiro, and you're like, no. Then next time choose the Portuguese route, just through the bars. But also that one for you, there's too many people over there. So I guess.
Yeah, maybe I'll just have to parachute in, or get some kind of helicopter or something.
That may be an option for sure. So you decided on Del Norte. Were you thinking about any other, the Via de la Plata, the Portuguese, or were you looking for? I think the Norte is the one that is the most backpacking one. I think it's the more natural, the more hiking.
Yeah, I think it appealed to us that also it went through. To go there, and we liked that it's physically challenging, lots of ups and downs, and just the fact that there were less people, I think, was the most important thing to us. I guess the Portuguese was the other one we were considering, but I think we'll do that one next time. That's next on our list.
We pushed our little. We pushed our baby on the Inglés when he was on.
All the way to Santiago. I think it was the day before we got to Santiago. I found out I was pregnant. So I had done the entire Camino pregnant.
Wow.
And yeah. So
I heard about a lot of people getting pregnant in the Camino, but I guess doing the Camino without knowing, that's the first time.
Yeah, I had no idea. And so we continued on. We went all the way to Finisterre. And then went back to Ireland to have the baby, who we named Tiago. And when Tiago was 6 months old, we decided to walk the Camino with him. So we started walking, actually out our front door in Ireland was the path of the Celtic Camino. And so we just started walking right from our house all the way to the seaport of Dingle in Western Ireland. And then instead of taking a ship, like in oldie times, we flew then to Spain, and we finished it by connecting to the Camino Inglés, and then walked all the way to Santiago with a 6-month-old baby.
Wow. So finishing the Camino del Norte and then going back, having the baby, walking in Ireland, and then getting back to... Not bad, I guess.
And that's when we decided to move to Spain. When we finished that Camino with the baby, then we're like, okay, we're moving to Spain. And
so what made you both guys, you being from Ireland, you being from the States, probably you guys been living all over the world. Why Spain? What was that make Spain so different that you decided to make your house and the way of living here?
Well, we traveled all around the world, literally, looking for the best place to live. We lived in India for many years, and we've been all around Asia. We were checking out places in Central America. We've checked out different countries in Europe. and we just didn't find the right place. I don't know, nothing felt like home. Nothing ticked all the boxes, you know. But Spain, we had spent a lot of time in, and we just thought it was this perfect combination of quality of life, low expenses, and for me, the outdoor activity, the walking is so important. It's pretty easy to learn Spanish, the language, and we thought it would just be an amazing place to raise a family. And then when we heard about this village that we're living in, where there's just this huge culture of expat families, then we really thought we found the spot. And we did. We absolutely love it.
Cool. So go ahead, James.
I was just saying it's also very accessible for my family to fly from Ireland to see their grandchild.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess for both of you, you can probably get an easy flight from anywhere, and
yeah, you can just fly into Malaga. We're only like an hour away on, the drive then. So that was
Malaga has become quite a hub spot for flights and everything. It's grown as one of the main cities in Andalusia. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your first Camino, the Camino del Norte. Not many people walk the Camino del Norte. Now it's getting more common to walk it. I guess, there was a big influencer and this big movement to promote it, like the Camino Portugues. I think right now, and with upcoming years, more people are going to be moving to different Caminos. There's not the huge amount of Camino Frances. I think everybody usually chooses the Camino del Norte or the Portuguese as a second or third Camino. But the main one at the beginning is still the French. How was the Camino del Norte and how was the experience over there?
Well, it's funny. At the very beginning, on the first day, we started in Irún, right on the French border, which is like the kind of official start point. And I remember we spent the night there, planning to start the next day, and we didn't see a single other pilgrim in Irún in June. Wow. And we were like looking at each other like, are we going to be completely alone on this Camino? We were getting like nervous.
No, I was happy. She was nervous. It's fine. I was happy with the situation.
But we started walking the next day and stayed in our first albergue that night, and immediately started to see that there were some pilgrims, although not a lot. You'd see kind of the same people every night because there are less albergue options. So you kind of end up staying seeing the same people and over again, which we really enjoyed that aspect of it. You get to really know people. Maybe he didn't enjoy it, but I did. I mean, it's just that the first week, and when you're walking through the Basque country, I think is the best week. It's just absolutely stunningly beautiful. You're walking along these coastal ridges past watchtowers and ancient ruins and walking through these just perfect little fishing villages, and you get to be in San Sebastian, and it's just really, really amazing that first week. And then kind of things become more real, I think, after you leave Basque country and you're like, oh God, we still have a long way to go.
And those days a little bit of road and a little longer, and they're more it's incredible because I'm the lucky one, from Pamplona. Some days when I'm done here, when I was able to do it, I will get my car, drop it in San Sebastian, get the bus to Hondarribia, and walk on or hike or run all the Camino around the Faro de Higuer and going Pasaya and all of that. It's such a beautiful, that path. I don't think I never seen something like that in any Camino or any place. That stage itself is just worth going for one day.
It's absolutely ridiculous. A lot of people don't know about that Alpinista route.
That one, that's the one I mean, the one that I recommend everyone. It's a little longer, a little harder. You have to go through the ropes at the end when you go down to Pasaya instead of getting the path that goes down. But the views from that top, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Plus the food and the wine, the beer, and it makes it all worth it.
Yes, you get a very good reward once you get to San Sebastian.
So how was the following days? Because as you get going, sometimes probably a lot of people, they don't know about the Norte. There's usually distance, as you guys know, are a little longer than in Camino Frances. There's not so many albergues. So it's one of the things that you have to plan. Did you guys plan your stages? Were you morely, whatever happens?
I suppose it was about 70-30. If we thought that there was going to be a very busy place, we would book ahead then.
Yeah, you have to be careful because there were a lot of Spanish tourists coming for the beach.
Yeah.
So especially if it was like the weekend, we realized we should book ahead. But then
other than that, no, we just turn up. Yeah, most of the time we just turn up.
There's not a very big problem with a bed race on the Norte. Not when we did it a few years ago.
This year is going to be different right now if you're going to do it in the Norte once the situation call or book. Well, even right now for any Camino, I say it's better to make sure, and also to let the hospitalero know that you are coming, because you never knows, and to be prepared. So how was the stage that you remember the most from the Norte, the most beautiful one? What we will say is the most beautiful stage from the Del Norte?
For me, it was day one.
Day one, yeah, from Irún.
Definitely. Yes, day one, Irún to San Sebastian. This to me is the most memorable day I've ever had on any Camino. I just fell in love with it from that day. Yeah. How are you?
I can remember what was going on, but I don't know where we were, just wandering along these cliff paths. And it was like, 50, 60 feet below you, and you could just fall in.
I know what you're talking about. That's the stage directly before you reach Santander. It's really amazing too. Yeah.
And you're just windswept up there, and you could be just taken away, and you look like, oh, this is just the end. And it was one of those days. It was, the sun was shining, but it was still raining, and the wind was howling, and up there on the north coast. And it was just, you felt really alive.
And for you, will be probably like home, no?
Oh, it was perfect. Yeah. I was getting a bit homesick. All right, I'd like if my family would have turned up that day. It would have been nice.
What about the most difficult stage? We know that in the Camino del Norte, there's a couple that have the name. Some people, there is ways to go around them. I don't know if you guys went the hard way or you went around them.
I think the one big detour we took, it was when you enter Cantabria, and there's a lot of walking on the motorway, right along the side of the motorway. And I think we avoided most of that by taking a shortcut. And then there was another day, I think also in Cantabria, where you can either walk 7 kilometers on the Camino along the motorway, or you can run across a railroad bridge. And you don't know if the train is coming or not.
Surprise!
I think the hardest day is probably the day you've got the worst hangover the next morning. You gotta be careful.
There were some tough days with that. Yeah.
That's also part of the Camino, that's the beauty of I always say the Camino is you have time to experience everything and anything, if you're good with yourself and that's what you're looking for, go for it and have fun. If you do it in the summer, in a normal summer in Spain, there's always a big party somewhere. I remember 2 years ago when I was doing the Aragonés, we arrived to a village, and it's a village that is really small, Arres, and it has like 6-7 houses. But that day was the big party day of the village, and the albergue was close to the main stage. So we have dinner with the villagers, and they were party all night. So you have 2 options: or you go to sleep to the church far, far away, you join them, or you stay up all night.
Yeah.
So you choose. But I remember the next day too.
Yeah, there was one day that we actually took a bus. We cheated because I got bed bugs, really bad bed bug bites. Like my entire body was covered, and he had nothing at all, just me. And I couldn't walk, so we decided to take a bus to the next big town, get a room so I can get the medicine and everything. And I think we rested there for a day. That for me was the hardest part. I almost quit,
How was dealing with the bed bugs? Was it easier? People, they still believe that it's something that doesn't happen. Or some people believe that it happens too often. And it's one of those things that it may happen to a whole 10 pilgrims and never seen it again in the whole summer. But I guess probably right now is one of the things that's going to be extinct with the measures that are now for cleanliness. But how did you deal with the bed bugs?
I had them twice on the Camino. I had them once on the Norte and once on the Ingles. I get them really bad. I think people get them in different levels of severity. For me, it's very bad. So, I just take antihistamine medication, which makes me feel really tired and makes me feel really bad. But yeah, it's kind of a big bummer when that happens. But you didn't ever really get it very bad, did you?
No, I got bitten. As she says, some people have different reactions. You were getting them so bad, you were like hallucinating and everything. You were like really staggering all over. And that's when we said, you just can't walk because it's too uncomfortable, because you're just, it's just horrible. You want to get out of your skin. So we didn't have the right cream to put on them. So we said, look, we got to go to the chemist.
Yeah, it's one of the things that is strange, for me, after hiking many years, we've been sleeping in places with sheep and animals, and I have friends that get ticks all the time, like 20 of them, or bed bugs. For me, nothing. Yeah, I guess, bugs don't like me at all.
The strange thing is I've stayed in the dirtiest, smelliest places in the world, backpacking and all different places in the world, and I never got bed bugs until I did a Camino. So I don't know why.
So is the Camino, it's you, is it Spain, or is it a mix of all of them?
I don't know, the Spanish bed bugs, they really like me.
So you were going into your Camino, you did your own Camino, and that's one of the things, I think I like, is you have to be truthful. As you guys said, you got one day, you got the bus, because that was what happened at the time. And I think right now we have this dream of the beauty Camino, the perfect Camino, that you cannot take the bus, you cannot get hungover. It's your own Camino, get your own Camino, live your Camino. Don't read too much blogs about how the Camino, someone else's Camino. It's no, because at the end, you go with one expectation or no expectation, and the Camino gives you whatever. In your case, were bed bugs. In your case, was a hangover. But so many people can find love. Some others can find going home because they get injured. Maybe you can broke your Achilles in the Camino. Who knows, no? So
we also found a baby on the Camino.
And you found a baby in the Camino. So a Camino that starts as 2, finishes as 3. And that's more common than, I don't know, maybe there's the people that I get in the stories, but I find people that go to the Camino with one baby and finish the Camino with 2, people that go to the Camino with no babies and finish the Camino with another baby. I guess, when you spend time with someone else.
Yeah, I mean, but you're feeling good on the Camino, and you're being very honest and open, and if you do drink, then you're probably up late with people. You're like telling people, you're telling people something that you wouldn't tell people back home, and yeah, there's definitely not just walking going on in the Camino, that's for sure.
I guess. I always say that the Camino is like 3 days in one. You have your morning day, the walking, the drinking during the morning, the tapas, the tortilla, the cafes. Then you have when you arrive with albergue, the whole cleaning, the whole chatting with whatever, and then the going to the town, having a little party and dinner. It's like 4 days in one. It's time spreads so long. It's incredible.
Yes, mm-hmm. That's true. And I think that I write about this a bit in the book. I just think on the Camino is just almost like your karma speeds up, and you're just faced with a bunch of situations that are sort of designed in a spiritual way to help you to evolve as quickly as possible. And I don't think you can plan for it too much. You just have to let it happen and go through it.
And I think that even if you plan it, I'm like, doesn't matter. Whatever it has to happen will happen. And if you plan, you may be disappointed. If you don't plan, it is what it is. And going with that open heart, I think, is the beauty of the Camino, no? So how was your big entrance into Santiago? This is your first Camino, finally falling in love with Spain, falling more in love with one another. And that's one of the things that I think is also beautiful when couples go to the Camino, no? Being so long with your loved one in such a different situations, because I don't know if your case, you walk all the time together, you break apart, you have your own times. But how was that big arrival to Santiago after that?
It wasn't anything special.
Well, I think what was going on is that you have to understand at this stage that we knew that Cassie was pregnant, and she wasn't, so everybody was going faster, but she was slowing down. So I was like very careful to say, listen, can you do enough today? Can you do enough today? And we were just kind of, I think you were just kind of struggling through a little bit at the end.
Yeah,
she was completely wrecked. So I was more worried about her at the end than the destination, really, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but what happened is, I think I was so tired when we entered Santiago that I didn't even walk into the plaza. I went directly to the albergue just to lie down. At that point, I was probably almost 2 months pregnant. And so So we didn't even go into the square till the next day, I think. But when we got there, we just had this kind of feeling like, you know, like, is this it? We, to be really honest, we were just not, we weren't that impressed. And that's when we decided the next day to keep going to Finisterre. And that was the best thing we ever did, because that felt like the end.
That's one of the things that I usually tell a lot of people, you know, we have put the Camino de Santiago and the arrival to Santiago too beautiful. You know, this is not like the Beauty and the Beast. This is not Cinderella. This is not a Disney movie. Sometimes it is amazing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's horrible because it's raining and it's horrible. Sometimes it's beautiful because it's raining, but sometimes it's like yours. Well, something happened, it changed, but I always recommend everyone that has the time to take the time to go to Finisterre. And in my case, I always say, you know, if you have the stretch, take it to Murcia.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and then when we came back the next year with the baby to do it again, and we walked with him into the plaza, then it was emotional. There was something about being back there and with the baby. We were definitely crying a bit that time, I think. And we like put him right down onto the final scallop shell right in the middle there, and that felt more emotional somehow. But to us, Finisterre and Murcia felt like the end, really the end. Yeah.
And
people they don't know what to do sometimes when they get to Santiago. Their whole focus, and now everything that you were focused on every day to get up and to push through is just taken away from you. Now it's like, am I going to go home? I'm kind of different. I feel a little bit different, but. And it's very confusing emotions for a lot of people.
There's something like anticlimactic about reaching the end. Yeah, he's right. You don't know what your purpose is anymore and who these people are that you've been with, and you're not really sure what to do.
After a long time, you know, and that's one of the things that when you go to the Obradoiro and you see those pilgrims, you know, watching the cathedral, waiting there, a lot of people think, oh, they are thinking, they are remembering, and after many years, they are like, no fucking way, they are lost. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. Yeah. I'm like, they know that if they go to Together Compostela, the whole thing is over. But then that's what I tell everyone, you know, go to Finisterre, go to Murcia. And that's when you realize that it's not over. It's just the beginning of a much longer journey. But as you say, the Camino became something so easy. Just wake up, coffee, tortilla, having fun with people, enjoying. It goes back to what is simple and easy in life. And when you get that taken from you and you have to go home, I hear from people that goes back to their houses and doesn't want to take the tram or the train or the bus to go, they walk. People that are sleeping the sleeping bag on their house for like a month because they don't know how to sleep on a bed again. And like we hooked to these little things of the Camino. I don't know if you guys did anything similar to this.
When we finished, we kept walking. We would we were in Ireland and I was very pregnant then. And we would just like say to his parents, we're just going to walk like 20, 30 miles. We're going to just go. Will you come pick us up in a few hours? And they thought we were completely crazy. But we were like addicted to this all day walking. We just had to keep going. Yeah, then over time, it kind of faded away.
They were a bit worried about Cassie, right? I mean, I don't know how long we would walk, but they'd say like, well, will we drive you to the restaurant? Let's all go to the restaurant. We said, no, we walk. And it was just, and it's odd to look back on it because you're like, nobody walks along these roads. It's kind of dangerous, you know, to get there, like these main roads. We were just like, no, I feel to move like this now. Yeah, and it must have lasted for, I don't know, maybe it still lasted, but it was still strong for a year afterwards, at least I'd say 18 months. Yeah.
And when would the new Camino come in, the walking in Ireland and then continuing with the Camino Inglés? How long did you guys took you to say, you know, we need to go back to this?
It was exactly a year from when we finished the one and started the next. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think as soon as we nearly finished, we had ideas to like get him walking, get back to Spain. It was like you didn't want to. I suppose we didn't want to let a baby change our life either. Mm-hmm. You know, like we still wanted to kind of keep on with what we were doing before. So it's like, can we do this? Can we challenge ourselves to do it? And what a lovely gift for him to say, for like he walked across Spain in Cassie's belly, and now he's like physically able to come from the north into Santiago. You know, is this some kind of strange perception you have that this is a nice gift for a baby? You know?
Yeah,
That's
we didn't
incredible,
have as much fun with the baby though, that's for sure.
It was tough.
That was my next question, comparing your Camino. Well, the Camino del Norte is tough in a way, but how was walking, flying, plus getting to Santiago with a baby, and also such a, I'm like, he was probably a couple months.
It sounds very romantic, very magical, but it was very, very hard because after you're walking 20 or 30 kilometers, all you want to do is like take a shower, sit back, have a beer, talk to some people, right? But no, as soon as we got there, it was like, okay, take care of the baby. We got to get the baby's bed set up. We got to get the baby fed. We got to give the baby a shower. It was all about now we got to play with the baby because he's been in the buggy all day. And it was, yeah, there was no time for fun, really.
And then the odd time then, like you have it planned out because you can get the baby fed somewhere, Tiago fed somewhere. And then once or twice, the place that you're supposed to get to is closed. You know, like that village is like in siesta time or something. And so I remember one day it was really, really hot. And we went and we ended up like pilgrims from 400 years ago. We had to find a well, a well at the side of the road. And we had to like put him in the well. And we had to get the cold water on him from the well and stuff like that. And you really feel like you were just, you know, hundreds of years back, what people would have to do. We had to just find the resources on the road to kind of look after all of us.
So what would you say to couples like you know, young couples that have babies that want to go to the Camino, things that you may think were you didn't prepare for that, you know, now that you have the time, you will think, you know, if I have to go again, what I will do again, or what I will do the same way that you guys did?
I would wait until the kid is old enough to be able to walk himself.
It's funny because we are recording this and the face said it all. I will wait till he can walk. But another thing, you know, I have a lot of my friends that have babies, and once they start walking, they're more stressed because he can go and he can run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right now, our son is 2, and it would be impossible to do it now. Impossible. But, you know, we're thinking maybe when he's around age 8, 9, that could be a really good time to do it again. I don't know. I just don't think it's as fun when you have a baby, even if it's a little one, because as I said, you just don't have enough time for the conversations and the relaxing and the being able to really take in where you are. I was just so focused on taking care of the baby all the time that I didn't really have much time to do anything else.
And it's heavy because we packed everything for all the Camino on the buggy. So you can imagine all the nappies, all the food, everything for him. So you've got your backpack on and you've got a big buggy and you've got all the babies food army pushing around your mini tank and going up some of those hills. The two of us had to physically push, you know, before and
I will invite you, James, to listen to one of the first podcasts that we have with Chris and Rob the Co. He walked the Camino de Santiago with his baby, and then they come back to do the Portuguese with another baby and with grandma. And kind of like close idea, but it's funny because they live another different way, and that's the beauty of the Camino. They're so different from one to the other. You have at the end you have to make your own and decide. There's no right guess. You did it with a baby and it was hard, and these guys, they did it with a baby, and you know, they tell us, you know, that the pilgrims will be taking care of the baby. They manage quite well. So that is the Camino, different experience from different people, and at the end it's like movies. It's a good movie. All my friends are like, oh, this movie is amazing. I'm like, many prizes, it sucks, it's horrible. Give me, you know, the all crappy movie that is just funny and stupid. Sometimes the Camino is like that. For many that you talk, for many that you listen, at the end you make the decision and you go. And
but again, the issue with that is that did you say this guy did the Portuguese?
No, they did the Camino Frances first.
Okay, and then afterwards with the baby.
And afterwards,
but doing the Inglés, the issue was as well, we hardly met any pilgrims again. So there was really nobody to be there with us. So some days we were just walking by ourselves.
So probably that's part of.
I know I sound very negative about the whole thing.
I don't know, but it was what it is. You're not making it beautiful just to sound beautiful. Also, the Inglés is harder. It's more mountaineering, as you say. There's no pilgrims there, so it's so different than any other Camino. So at the end, it's just there's no right and wrong experience. But it's nice to know that, you know, I have a lot of people that we have one guy that we interviewed. He was like, when I arrived to Santiago, it sucks. It was horrible. I didn't like the Camino. I'm like, that's the way it is. This is not for everyone. So
yeah. I don't think I'll be doing another full Camino until Tiago can walk himself. But,
and he's 25 and he can go by himself, and you guys can go by yourself too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it'll be really fun, I think, someday when he's old enough to read the book and understand, like, this is where he came from. He came from the Camino. I tell him all the time, he's a Camino baby, and he better like walking. So yeah, and he does.
And he was walking before, he was walking without knowing before, as you say, James, before he even know that he was walking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So probably you need to try to get the Compostela of an unborn baby.
We did.
We did.
That's illegal. But
yeah, we tried really hard and we got yelled at by lots of people, but in the end we got it.
If you got it, you got it. That's one of the things that.
I don't think it was such a big deal, to tell you the truth. I went in there and I said I did it with a baby, and the woman said, "You want to write? Do you want to write his name in it as well?" And I was like, "Yeah." I think it's just who you meet in the office sometimes.
Yeah. So you have to get the
again, there is some rules that I try to point out all the time, because a lot of people get pissed, and sometimes, the Compostela is a religious certificate, and I like to point it out, and it's only given if you do the Camino in a certain points. It doesn't have to be Catholic. They just ask you these questions that you can say yes or no, so don't get into the fight. If you really want it, just follow the rules, stay yes. And also has an age, because to be able to say that you did the Camino and those reasons, you need to be conscious about that. And that's what it has, an age. And that's it. But you can get the certificate of distance, or as you say, if there's a nice person in the office. I always say that if people find problems, it's usually because the person there is having a bad day. Usually the office is pretty crowded, and it can be. And all the time that I've seen people, all kinds of things, really good ones, really bad ones. But it's nice for everyone when a lot of people, they go on Facebook, oh, they didn't give me the Compostela to my baby. I'm like, read the rules on the website. The guy over there was just follow the rules. If you were lucky and they give it to you, yes, but don't complain because the poor volunteer there was following the rules. So in your case, you were lucky once and you get it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered, but
no. And most people over there, they wouldn't say anything.
Yeah. We just thought we'd try, and I guess we got lucky.
I don't even know. I don't even think we knew the rules. So yeah.
No, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people, they don't know that there's a set of rules for the Compostela. So when there's all these stupid fights, I'm like, go to the website. They're in English, in Spanish, and French. Read them. That's it.
Exactly.
When you have rules, it's yes or no. So after all of that, you get to Caminos. When did the book? Because you guys have written a book, and right now there's so many Caminos, books, and everything. But yours is a little different. So when did you guys decided to write a book? Was while you were walking? Were you one of those couples that write everything every day? You have your diary. It was something that came later on, and you think, maybe this is something that can help others or maybe entertain others?
It started as a blog that I was writing. I was just going to do a daily blog, very informal. And I think it happened pretty quickly. On day 2 or 3, James said, I want to write something on your blog. And then it was so good what he wrote. He's an amazing writer that I was like, I think this is more than a blog. I think that this can be a book. And so we religiously, no matter how hungover we were or how exhausted we were, we wrote every single day on the Camino.
Every single day.
We'd usually do it as soon as we arrived at the albergue. We'd sit down and we did it all on our phones and wrote the thing for the day. And that wasn't the book, but that became the outline for the book later.
I love it. That was one of my favorite things, knowing that I'd finish up at the end of the day, get the Menu del Dia, have a couple of glasses of wine, and just start writing in whatever weird way I so perceived that day. And I look forward to doing it, as I was walking.
That was actually, now that you say that was one of the reasons I didn't enjoy the Camino as much with the baby, because I didn't have time to write. I didn't have that half an hour or an hour to really get down what I did that day and what I experienced that day. So
you guys work both at counseling and helping other people. What do you think is with writing that so many people love at the end of the day, to write everything? And in the Camino, we love, no? For me, I tried. It didn't work at all. I have one day written. I'm not a writing guy. So
Yeah.
But why is with writing that so many pilgrims like to write it, even if it's just for themselves and some others for blog that not even some days, sometimes not even anyone is going to read, but the thing of writing the Camino has become something so big.
I think maybe because the experience is so ridiculously unique, and it's something that once you get home from your Camino, you realize that nobody really is that interested in talking to you about every detail of your story. They don't really understand the people back home. They don't, yeah. And so this is like the only way that you have to kind of make sense of it, or to have, even if nobody else ever reads it, to have a conversation about what happened to you on the Camino and how it's changing you slowly. Every day you're kind of evolving through it. And I don't know, it's just so important to have that conversation with yourself. And I think amazing writing comes out of the Camino, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And people really want to, they just want to express themselves in a way that the walking is wonderful, but some people also need another layer as well to understand themselves and understand what's going on. And you have a bit of self-dialogue, and you kind of have fun with it, and you look at it in your own way, and you don't have to talk to anybody else about it and try to be anybody or try to be anything else. You're just writing this wonderful fairy tale, if you want to write it, or this wonderful adventure, or however you want to perceive your own day, and roll with it that way, and just have more fun. For me, it was.
I also think there's this space that exists when you're on the Camino. Even though you're meeting lots of people and talking to them, nobody talks very much about life back home. Not too much. And then, of course, when you're done with the Camino, nobody wants to hear much about the Camino. So there's this space that exists in the middle where it's you from back home, the you you've always been, and the you on the Camino, and nobody else in the world could possibly understand that except for you yourself. And so the only way to kind of commune with that space is to write it down, maybe, or there's probably other ways.
And what was because in your case then you were writing your experience, both, I guess, different also. And what was the purpose at the end when you decided, maybe this is more than a blog, maybe this is something that we both do together? How do you mix both your experiences as individuals, both in the experience as a couple, and then make it into a book?
That's a good question. I mean, like, just to begin with it, it's just that we divided the work, basically. Some of the hardest part to write the book is that if it's in diary form, and if myself and Cassie are writing about the same day, are we gonna, because we're having the same experiences, where you're gonna bore the person if we're gonna write about the same thing. So we just had to split up the days, basically. Cassie would write about a lot of times up until the afternoon, and then I would other times do morning time, and I would take over with a lot of the characters, where Cassie would, the characters we would meet along the way, the people. Cassie then was able to explain better than her inner feelings, and able to put across this on the page, where I was better at able to understand the dialogue and get that down on paper better. So we just divided the work.
I don't know. I think it just went amazingly easy for us somehow. I know it sounds like it would be really hard, but somehow that worked well for us. It was so much fun. It was the most fun I ever had writing that book with him. It was an incredible process. And our whole idea was, we're writing this book for Tiago. If we sell a few copies along the way, that's fine. But our only goal was, like, get this story down for him.
Yeah. It was nothing about fame and fortune. It was just like, just want to write a book. This will be.
Yeah, and I think most of the Camino books start like that, and then they become bigger, and I think that's the beauty. You did your book for yourself. But it's funny because there's a book that I remember right now when I was a child, that is this book, and it has, the both sides. And they were the twin brothers, but they were brother and sister. And one was the day by day by the brother, and you flip it the book, and it was the same things happening through the eyes of the sister.
Wow, yeah. Cool.
So have you think about doing a Camino book for kids, and maybe playing around with the, how a boy sees the Camino, how the girl sees the Camino, maybe something that, because your book is for adults, it's not more related for kids, no, but maybe your experience, because at the end, what we were saying, that the way you experience the bed bugs is probably totally different than the way James, you experience her bed bugs. And your hangover wasn't her hangover. I don't think we can put that in the book, but maybe we can do something else.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
No, I started writing some stuff maybe a few months ago, right? About for kids. Yeah, it was like, I don't know, I can't remember. It was like a load of insects were traveling the Camino. And it's the bee and the hedgehog and the snake and ABC. And, you know, and if I have enough fun, you know, like if I find it amusing enough, I'll keep at it. I think, you know, that kind of a way. Yeah. But it could happen for sure.
So how was the process? You work the book, you write the book as you go on the Camino, then you finish the Camino. How was the process after getting home and realize that, oh, we have a book in our hands? Now is the biggest process, the whole editing, the proving, the really making it into a book. No, because I guess until that moment it's just thoughts and days and experiences.
Yeah, I guess it took us about almost 2 years to go from when we stopped the Camino to when the book was actually published. 2-year process of working on it all the time. So, but the good thing is the book was divided up, you know, day by day. So we just took it day by day, and we just did one day at a time, and we would kind of go off by ourselves and polish what we wrote, and then we would meet together and give each other feedback. We got really good at receiving feedback from each other.
She means criticism.
Positive feedback.
Yeah.
Sometimes it depends what mind space you're in, if you're able to take it as positivity. But it was great to just be more humble and just kind of go, okay, we have to cut this, you know. So
we cut so much.
Yeah.
And so we basically went through it day by day twice. And then we hired an editor to go through it again. And then we hired one more editor after that. So there were a lot of drafts. So we finally got to the last. Yeah.
And also that was like the end of the Camino in itself. Once that book was published, that was also an end of a journey too, you know, because we were reliving the Camino years after we did the Camino, because we were still like in depth there with our mind all the time. And we kind of didn't know what to do with ourselves for a little bit, because we were talking so much about this project, you know. It was interesting.
And how was the day that finally you guys is like, okay, it's published, or little other baby or little Camino, and you both did the same when I said finish, and you were like,
yeah, no, it was a good day. Yeah, we were really proud of ourselves, I guess.
But it wasn't that the day that the book got published, it was the day that we got sent the copies of the hard copy.
Yeah, and we held it in our hands.
And it's weird for me because the front cover is all this kind of bit psychedelic type of me walking through. I can see it now. Me walking through the forest.
It's on his screen.
Oh, it's there on your screen. Very cool. Very cool. So it's like that. So when I saw it in my hand and I saw myself in it, I was like, whoa! You're having like an out of body experience almost. Like, is that
that's me? That's my Camino. I'm like,
there. Yeah, that's how. And it says the words and the worries and the wants and the needs and everything else that happened along the way.
And it's also a very intense experience to know that other people are reading it, because we get very raw and very real. We go pretty deep and emotional in the book, and we reveal things about ourselves that we don't talk about normally. And so it was kind of a little bit nervous feeling to know, wow, friends and family are going to be reading this now, but also strangers. And so you feel a little bit vulnerable in a way, but I think that's also very liberating at the same time.
And that's the way I've been feeling this interview. You know, a lot of people, when we interview, they tell the beauty, the pretty Camino. Now, we make our persona on the Camino and the Camino says, but you both are being so great and so real. You know, we took the bus, this has happened, this sucks with the baby, this was amazing. I'm like, and that I guess is the beauty of your book, no? So people goes and they're thinking right now, why should I read your book with so many other books out there? Why it's going to make the difference to read the first of all, there's not so many about the Camino del Norte that I can tell. And also a couple, probably many less. So, but what do you think it makes it different?
This is an interesting question.
The combination of practical advice about actually what it's like to walk a Camino and the logistics and descriptions of the trail of the Camino del Norte. the combination of all of that with this very profound inner exploration of the psychology and the spirituality of walking the Camino, I think that's probably what makes us unique, is that we're sort of the best of both worlds as far as that goes.
And trying to do sort of fairly in-depth character studies of your Camino buddies as well, and really soaking up their psyche and trying to understand them and integrating that into our life as well. And I don't let that many people in that much, but you let a few people in along the way, and just how that can affect somebody who's a bit more introverted as well, who might like to do it themselves and they're thinking of walking alone, but then how you get drawn into it. And yeah, and just there's a lot of humor there as well.
Yeah, it's very funny.
It's just like,
it's dark and funny at the same time.
It's a kind of a darkly humorous story as well. People like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So coming from you, James, that you were saying that you don't like people, and you know, for me, the Camino is all about the people, and I think that's the beauty, you know, and I get so much interviewing people. But I'm like you, a lot of times I'm like, go away, give me my time. But what was that person that, if I have to tell you one person that you met in your Camino del Norte that you remember, who is that person and what is the story behind that person?
His name would be Gypsy Mullet.
Gypsy Mullet, okay.
He's a Roma guy, you know, like one of the gypsy fellows. And I just met him, where did we meet him? In San Sebastian?
Yeah.
In San Sebastian the first time, and he just really caught my attention. He was a flamenco player. And he was there with this other geezer, this other fella. And he just stopped us in our tracks by just playing. But he was a very intense man who was like looking for something I could see straight away. And he asked me, did I see his horse? And he had this like horse that went missing. And I said, no, I haven't seen this horse, but I have been feeding many horses along the way. I love animals, so I stop and I feed all the animals. And he just kind of latched on to me then a little bit, as in like, this guy, he's kind of a nice fellow and you don't expect to see him again, but he was moving kind of almost at the same pace as us as well, going towards Santiago. Mm-hmm. And I just had all these like interesting, surreal, almost mystical kind of interactions with him. And it was all about like his horse. He was like very intense about like, have you seen it? Where is it? And then I kind of learned his story a little bit as he went along, that he like really bonded with this animal, and that was his freedom, and that's how he was able to just go across the land. And now that he'd lost something, he kind of, how shall I say, he lost something, and then my psyche was kind of attached to this horse then a little bit when he thought about it, I thought. And so whenever I saw him along the way, he'd always like greet me in this like, you know, overly excited way, or this very aloof way. You never really know. And I just met his family along the way then, and everybody and anybody, and we met him right up to the end. We kept bumping into him, so it was an amazing experience. He was definitely outside the Camino normality, and I think that's why we both kind of you know, had a nice kind of time. We were a little bit two strange folk, just kind of kept on meeting each other.
And what about you, Casey? Was there anyone over there that you can like remember?
Yes, 100%. It was, we call him LSD Bill.
LSD Bill.
Because, yes, he was carrying LSD with him the entire Camino. But we met him on the second day when we were walking out of San Sebastian, and he just started shouting at us, hey, stop, you know, and James is like, keep walking, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Don't look back.
And he just came running after us. He's like this young kid, 22 years old, I think, from Austria. And he just latched onto us like a puppy dog. And I ended up really connecting with him almost as like a big sister. And we went through kind of some amazing trials and tribulations together. And I ended up losing him for a few weeks, and then saw him again on the last day in Murcia. And Wow. It was just amazing. We're still in touch with him. He still calls us, and I'll never forget him.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible how many, these little stories, at the end, they make the whole, and that's the beauty of all of this. So sometimes you say, I ran from someone, but someone ended up being a really important part of your Camino. So what is next for you guys? Now that we're in this situation, we're all thinking about next Caminos, next book, next baby. What is next?
What's next?
Next is enjoying fatherhood a little bit more. Like actually understanding what settling down kind of means for a little bit. I haven't settled down forever in my whole life. I'd like to just soak up Spain a little bit more and just like our kids in play school now and just be a dad for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I think both of us, we've been basically traveling since we were 18 and separately, but both the same kind of a lifestyle. And I think it's almost like the next step on our Camino is to just stay put for a while. Of course, there's the pandemic, which doesn't really give us much of a choice, but you know, we're just trying to really build community around us and feel what it's like to live somewhere for longer than just a year or two. And but we're really looking forward to traveling with Tiago too. Probably in the winters, we'll head off to Asia or something as soon as it's allowed. And then when he's old enough, we'll definitely take him on the Camino, but he's got to be able to walk.
So you better know. I don't know where he is, but you better walk. Maybe he's not walking sooner. And then you say, you know, I was so wrong.
Yeah,
Possible, yeah.
It's true.
Who knows? Thank you so much, guys, for being with us today. I invite everyone, and we'll put, you know, all the information about your book, about your website, so they can discover more about your amazing story, the amazing story of your family, and how you ended up with living in Spain with such a beautiful story. And I hope that hopefully soon, you know, I'm moving to Andalusia for a while, or you guys move up here for a little bit, and we can discover a little bit of the Camino Frances and Pamplona, and there's so much to see. So every time I say to people, you know, Spain is huge. There's so much to do. Every time you go to the Camino, if you're coming from or far away, take a week off to discover some other parts. And Andalusia is beautiful. If you like the sun, if you like the culture, Madrid, Barcelona, there's so much things to do that sometimes we are so Camino that we forget about the whole other aspect. And sometimes even just walking the Camino, your Camino del Norte, when you go through all the cities and places that you visit, San Sebastian, Cantabria, all those places, they well deserve one day just staying there. So if you have the chance, take it. You know, sometimes don't rush your Camino. The Camino will walk by itself. So anyway, thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful Easter. Now that we have these days off, I don't know if you guys have the days off. Like, you know, in Spain, we have some people it's already on holidays. For us here, for example, in Navarra, we start the holidays tomorrow. So it will be nice to have a couple of days off, but the weather is going to change. But we will try to get out and walk a little bit of the Camino. The lucky ones that we have the Camino in the front door. And hopefully you will enjoy also the beautiful Andalusia. So thank you so much again. Buen Camino, Ultrella.
Thank you. Buen Camino.
Good luck.